I want to talk to you today about a subject that may make you feel a bit uncomfortable: facing conflict. If you're like me, the thought of facing conflict makes me cringe or want to go hide under a rock somewhere. But the fact is, we face some degree of conflict every single day. If you have a little toddler, you probably deal with conflict several times per hour. The level of stress it brings when we are in conflict depends on at least two things. Number one, what's at stake, and also how we choose to resolve that conflict. Disagreeing over which radio station to listen to or which restaurant to choose may not bring as much stress as explaining to your teenager why he can't stay out past midnight, or standing before a judge to explain why you ran a red light. Stress may also increase depending on which method we choose when dealing with conflict. Here are 5 common ways that we respond when facing conflict. We may choose to be accommodating. Now, this simply means that we put others' concerns above our own. If the issue is not that important, this can be a very healthy choice. Sometimes it's just easier to keep the peace. The problem comes when we actually feel strongly about something and begrudgingly agree to the other point of view. Some may choose to avoid conflict. We postpone necessary conversations or simply evade them altogether. Now, if the issues are trivial, this may be okay, but dodging conflict on important issues may lead to resentment from one side or the other. And sometimes it works to compromise. Each side gives up a little in order to reach an agreeable solution. This is a great solution if you've reached an impasse or you're looking to find a temporary solution to a problem, but too much compromise can also leave one side or both parties feeling frustrated. It's great when people can collaborate. Rather than trying to find middle ground, both parties work together until they reach a solution where everyone is satisfied. Collaborating is a way for all stakeholders to come to a win-win situation. The 5th method is probably the most destructive. A competing style is when one person must win at any cost. This person just pushes until he or she finally gets their way. The goal is to make decisions and ensure that everyone gets on board. Well, you don't have to imagine the grim outcome of such an approach. Now, I'm going to assume for just a minute that you are already acquainted with these very commonly known approaches to resolving conflict. I want to take you just one step further in this process, and I'll tell you why. For some time now, Linda and I have had to learn new ways of dealing with our son who suffers from mental illness. In trying to figure out what to do with someone who sees the world from a very different perspective, I've run across a great author by the name of Xavier Amador. He's written 2 amazing books that have helped us deal with ongoing conflict. One is I'm Right, You're Wrong, Now What? And the other one is I'm Not Sick, I Don't Need Help. In his books, he teaches the process called LEAP, L-E-A-P. Listen, empathize, agree, and plan. First, he says to listen. Listen as if you were an investigative reporter wanting to get the facts straight. Listen intently. Repeat back what you've heard and make sure the other person knows that you know what he's talking about. He says reflective listening has as its sole purpose understanding what the other person is trying to convey and then communicating that understanding back without commenting or reacting in any way. Secondly, empathize. You know, if I were in your position, I might feel exactly the same way. Empathizing is not the same as agreeing. It's simply understanding their emotional state and conveying that you understand what they're feeling. A magical thing happens when you combine reflective listening with empathy. Then agree. Find things that you can mutually agree upon. What is the other person saying that you can actually agree with? Use that as a foundation for the next step. And then once you feel aligned with the other person, put your heads together and put together a plan. Now, I've just taken a few hundred pages and condensed this concept down to only a few hundred words, so let me try to make it even more simple. When you face conflict, take a step back. Take time to listen. I mean, really listen. Listen without being defensive. Listen until you know the other person knows he's been heard. Then you've built the foundation of trust that will let you work towards a solution. Try it a few times and see how it works.